You want a war? You're gonna get one.
Forget the lies, the money. We're in this together and through it all. They said nothing's forever, and they refuse to see the change in me. Why won't they wake up? Come on, come on, come on. Let's get it out. Move to the music, play that fucking music. Live through my music, yeah.
Hey yo, welcome back to Reliving the War and welcome to July 26th, 1999. This week Raw takes place in Cleveland, Ohio, while Nitro's in Memphis, Tennessee. We witnessed the end of an era at Fully Loaded and Mr. McMahon has to leave WWF. Triple H is also the new #1 contender for the WWF Championship, so this week's Raw should be interesting. I'm looking forward to it. This week's jam-up guy is Frank from Dublin. Frank attended WrestleMania 40 while wearing his Saturday Night Fever and Brett's homemade jam shirts. Frank also supports Wrestling Bios on Patreon, so thank you very much, man, and I hope the Alex Wright dancing kept you warm at WrestleMania. Also, guys, I've got a backlog of jam-up guys I'm working through. Don't worry if your picture hasn't been featured yet, I'll get to it eventually. With all that out of the way, let's check out what happened this week in the Monday Night War. Nitro kicks off with a Hollywood Hogan interview. Scott Hudson reveals that there's going to be a tag team main event tonight featuring Hulk Hogan and his mystery partner versus Kevin Nash and his mystery partner. Hogan says he just got off the plane and the, and I quote, Memphanites were there to greet Hollywood Hogan. He also calls Kevin Nash Kevina while saying Wood from the Who doesn't have a stinking partner tonight because he doesn't need a stinking partner. And at that very moment, Kevin Nash walks down to the ring with Rick Steiner and Sid Vicious. It's so stupid that Nash would align himself with Sid after everything these two went through during Big Sexy's rivalry with Macho Man Randy Savage, and it's truly bizarre no one in WCW thought that this didn't make sense. Also, what a random group this is. I mean, Rick Steiner? Hogan says he doesn't need a partner for tonight. Nash says he begs to differ. Hulk offers Kev a fight right now, so the two throw down before Sid and Steiner get in the ring to help Nash out. The three men beat Hogan up. I guess we're going to find out who Hogan's partner is right now. And there he is, WCW president and all-around nice guy Sting. The ring clears out. Nash says he's got his partner, but he's not sure if Hogan has one. Hulk points at Sting, but the icon leaves the ring. So maybe Sting isn't going to team up with Hollywood after all. The in-ring action began with Juventud Guerrera and Psychosis taking on Bobby Duncombe Jr. and Kendall Windham. The Luchadors got screwed over when Randy Anderson didn't notice Juventud getting tagged in. The West Texas Rednecks ended up winning after a double bulldog, and after the match, Kurt Hennig said to the camera, Goldberg, you're going down later on, guarantee it. Kurt ran his mouth on Thunder and he got himself a match against Goldberg on Nitro tonight. Miss Madness says she's been fired apparently and she's now known as Mona. I assume she's been removed from Team Madness because Medusa shows up to announce a Mona vs Medusa match at Road Wild, so clearly Mona's still hired by WCW. Medusa thinks Gorgeous George is behind the breakup of Team Madness because she needs to be the centre of attention, and Medusa says she's gonna do something about it tonight on Nitro. Vampiro and Rey Mysterio had a match next, and Rey had to put up with the ICP interfering at ringside. In the end, it was too much for Mysterio and he took a nail in the coffin followed by a top rope powerbomb, and the Insane Clown Posse then hit the ring to cause a DQ finish. Eddie Guerrero ran down for the save, and Violent J says Mysterio just found out what Conan found out last week. The ICP aren't here to wave hands and dance, they're here to kick ass, apparently. Vincent came down to the ring and he said Stevie Ray has no backbone. You don't leave the NWO, the NWO leaves you. So Stevie Ray got in the ring and he gave Vincent a beating while Booker T stood at the entranceway to fend off members of the NWO. Vincent took an axe kick, a slapjack to the face, and Stevie finished Vincent off with the slapjack finishing move. Harlem Heat aren't officially back together yet, I don't think, but it looks inevitable at this point. Backstage, we see Sting walking into Hollywood's dressing room, and after a commercial break, he walks down to the ring to cut a promo. The president of WCW says he already has a big decision to make in his new role. He asks fans if he should be Hogan's tag team partner tonight in the Nitro main event, and that's when Hulk walks down to the ring to say he's a changed man and the Stinger can now trust Wood from the Hood. 10 minutes ago, Hulk was saying he doesn't need a stinking partner, and now he's practically begging Sting to team up with him. Sting agrees to help Hulk out, but if Hogan screws him over, then the Stinger's going to come after him. So we just need to find out now who Nash's partner is going to be, though I assume it's either Rick Steiner or Sid Vicious. A Prince Iaueka vs Lash LeRoux match got interrupted by Macho Man Randy Savage handing out elbow drops, and Savage is so confused about who he's feuding with right now that he just shouts everyone's name. He mentions Kevin Nash, Hollywood Hogan and Dennis Rodman one after another while saying no one wants a piece of the Macho Man. Medusa and Mona show up, they accuse Gorgeous George of breaking Team Madness up, and when they approach George outside the ring, Dennis Rodman appears and he kidnaps the Macho Man's girlfriend. Just flat out kidnap right here, taking the poor girl against her will. Macho freaks out and he goes backstage to find Rodzilla, but Dennis is nowhere to be found. Goldberg then comes out and he says Kurt Hennig was acting the big man on Thunder when Billy Boy wasn't around. So Goldberg has two things he wants to say to Kurt Hennig: I'm here and you're next. By the way, Jason Hervey has joined the commentary team for Nitro tonight. The actor and business partner of Eric Bischoff said Arliss did a terrible job last week and everyone wants to be part of WCW, so he's here to offer his truly awful commentary for tonight's show. Raw starts off hot this week with The Undertaker beating the hell out of X-Pac. On Nitro, we've got Ernest Miller versus Evan Karagias. It was X-Pac who made The Undertaker bleed last night at Fully Loaded, so he's getting his just desserts right here on Raw. The Road Dogg's just collateral damage. Road Dogg gets chokeslammed through a table before Taker beats Waltman all the way down to the ring. And inside the ropes, Undertaker continues brutalizing X-Pac until Kane's music plays in the arena. Kane gets in the ring and the crowd goes nuts when he attacks his big brother. The fans are 100% behind the big red machine right here, but Taker gets a little help from the Big Show. Show comes down to attack Kane, and the Phenom ends up joining Big Show in the beatdown. Kane gets pummeled in the corner and Show chokes him out with his big boot. And once Kane's been neutralized, the Big Show and Undertaker share a handshake in the middle of the ring. The corporate ministry is no more, and the Undertaker has joined forces with the Big Show to create the Unholy Alliance. As I talked about in a previous episode, the Undertaker actually took Big Show under his wing backstage, and it wasn't a very pleasant experience for Big Paul White. Taker was hard on the big man because he wanted him to be better, but Show also said that his time with the Undertaker did improve him as a performer. Backstage, Vince McMahon arrives to the arena and he looks a little upset. He's not supposed to be here, but we assume he's gonna say his farewells before crawling back to the hole he came from. On Nitro, the cat says Karagias has a lot of guts stepping into the ring with him tonight, so he says he'll let him leave in one piece and he'll even shake the youngster's hand. This obviously doesn't go how Evan wanted it to go, and Miller beats the hell out of his opponent. They make it look like Karagias is absolutely no match for Miller as he tries to fight back, and Evan takes the moonwalk elbow before Sonny Ono gets in on the action. By the way, I was looking up that WCW pay sheet document that was leaked on the internet, and I was surprised to see that from 1996 to mid-2000, Sonny Ono made more money in WCW than Raven, Fit Finlay, Saturn, Jericho, Rick Rude, Psychosis, Juventud Guerrera, Dusty Rhodes, and loads of other names. Our guy was making bank while others were breaking their backs. I say fair play. The cat pulls off a super kick and Evan replies with a drop kick and a springboard crossbody. Ono gets on the apron while Miller goes for his dancing shoes, but Buff Bagwell took the time to replace the cat's weapon of choice with a pair of fluffy bunny slippers. Cat ends up getting distracted and Evan's able to roll him up for a pinfall win, and after the bell, an angry Ernest Miller attacks his opponent once again and the referee. Edge and Christian battle the Acolytes next on Raw. On Nitro, Mikey Whipwreck takes on Steve Regal. Random, but I'll take it. Gangrel, strangely, helped Christian last night on Heat during his match with Big Viscera, so it looks like the funky vampire maybe wants to break up the Edge and Christian tag team. Big Shot Bob Holly acts as our special guest ring announcer for this match because he can do whatever he wants, and he makes fun of both tag teams before the match begins. The tag titles are on the line here, and Christian performs a spinning wheel kick before tagging in Edge for a double hip toss. As Bradshaw comes in to go to work, Jim Ross announces that Ken Shamrock just got struck by a vehicle outside the arena, but we'll come back to this in a motherfucking moment. Edge performs a jumping shoulder block. Christian comes in only to take a big boot from Bradshaw. Christian then finds himself on the outside where Farouk does a little damage, but back in the ring, Christian avoids a Dominator and Farouk takes a DDT. Bradshaw and Edge tag in, and when Christian goes for an assisted crossbody, he ends up getting caught out with a fallaway slam. Gangrel then shows up and he pulls Christian out of harm's way, but this doesn't do Edge any favours at all. Edge gets planted with a double powerbomb, and the Acolytes retain their tag team titles. Bob Holly says the winner of the match is the Big Shot himself. He then gets in the ring and he ends up getting wrecked by the Acolytes. But then Kane's pyro goes off once again and the Big Red Machine takes out the Acolytes, Holly and Edge before grabbing a microphone. Using his voice box, Kane sends a message to the Undertaker.
You heard Sean. You heard me. Undertaker. Big Show. Tonight I'm gonna hurt you.
Backstage, Ken Shamrock's refusing doctor's help because he's way too hard for medical attention. We then see a replay of exactly what happened and oh yeah, cold as ice. I do hope that car's okay. Steve checks out the damage he caused before heading back in his car, and keep in mind that Ken Shamrock has a match tonight against Triple H. On Nitro, it's revealed by the commentators that Fit Finlay was injured last week, but this could be part of his current storyline. Regal gives Whipwreck a lesson in mat wrestling at the opening bell, but Mikey answers with a hip toss followed by a Japanese arm drag. Regal then hits the canvas after a head scissor takedown, and Regal replies by bringing it straight back to the mat where Mikey's education continues. Jimmy Hart's first family then shows up, and Jimmy says if these Englishmen want their friend's trophy back, all they have to do is show up in Sturgis for Road Wild. Regal says he'll kill each and every one of these goons before Mikey tries a schoolboy, a small package, and a backslide, but Regal kicks out of every pin attempt. Complete tit Brian Knobbs continues to mock Regal as his lordship stretches Mikey out, and when Mikey gets sent to the outside, Dave Taylor launches an attack. We then see a leg drop from Regal and Taylor gets in more cheap shots. Mikey tries to shake it off as he delivers a Frankensteiner to Regal. One more strike from Taylor's enough to put Whipwreck down though, and the match ends with Mikey topping out to the Regal stretch. The Union Jack gets placed over Whipwreck and Regal celebrates his victory before Nitro continues on. Vince McMahon speaks on Raw next while David Flair gets interviewed by Mean Gene Okerlund. We can see Ben Stiller in the audience for Raw tonight as the chairman steps inside the ring. Vince says he's not going to break his promise or breach the contract that he signed because, get this, he's never lied to fans and he's never lied to anyone. Yeah, Vince, okay, buddy. Vince failed to deliver on one of his famous guarantees last night. Austin defeated The Undertaker at Fully Loaded, and rather than leave the fans with the image they saw of Vince last night at the pay-per-view, McMahon wants to give a formal farewell to WWF fans all around the world. Vince wants everyone to remember him for what he is right now, a handsome entrepreneur who left a mark on each and every one of these fans in attendance tonight. Yeah, you left your mark alright, you absolute animal.
He's an animal!
An animal! An animal!
Before Vince can leave on his own terms, here comes Stone Cold Steve Austin to say his own farewell to Mr. McMahon. Vince says, on the outside, he and Austin are worlds apart, but down deep, way down deep in the asshole, Austin knows that he and Vince are just alike. Vince considers himself the better man though, and to prove it, he offers a handshake and he wants bygones to be bygones. Austin instead grabs the microphone and he won't be shaking Vince's hand tonight, not after the 2 years of hell McMahon's tried to put Stone Cold through. Austin tells Vince to take his money, his power and his hand and stick him up his ass. Stone Cold is living proof that someone like Vince will never beat someone like Stone Cold Steve Austin. And before Vince walks back up the rampway for the very last time, Austin wants Jim Ross to get in the ring. Ross seems a little surprised as he steps inside the ropes. Austin says Jim probably hates Vince as much as he does, so Stone Cold wants Jim Ross to sing Vince a song as he leaves WWF for good. Austin whispers some lyrics into JR's ear, and Jim leads a sing-along with fans in attendance.
Na 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 na. Oh no. Na 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 na. Oh hell yeah. Goodbye. Oh, this is awful.
Vince walks back up the ramp. He's been forced out of his own company by Stone Cold, and in one last act of defiance, he flips Stone Cold off before heading back to his limousine. Stone Cold has a beer with good old JR while Vince gets ready to head home, but just before he can get in his car, he's stopped by Hard Finkel. Finkel thanks Vince for everything he's done for him, and Fink pours his heart out while saying he's going to miss Vince. And Vince replies by saying,
Get the hell away from me.
On Nitro, Gene tells Dick Flair that he has his hands full tonight. He's got a title defense coming up against Chris Benoit. David messes up his dad's famous catchphrase by saying, "To being the man, you got to beat the man." Mean Gene reminds David that he's not Ric Flair, and David gets Tori to call him a 10 out of 10, which had absolutely nothing to do with what Mean Gene said to him. Gene wants David to talk about Chris Benoit, and again, he completely ignores the question, and instead he says his dad's the best wrestler in the world while David's aiming for number 2. It's almost like David's on random reply mode and he's just spouting wrestlebolics like some sort of cheap talking action figure. Here, I'll show you. Mean Gene then says Rick isn't here tonight and David's all on his own to face Benoit, and David says this.
It's gonna be easy as 1, 2, 3.
Nothing about Flair's whereabouts, nothing about standing on his own 2 feet, nothing about a plan B. Fuck's sake, Davey, give us something here. This is like a video game where you pick your own promo lines. No, video games are actually more in-depth. Mean Gene then tries one more time to ask David about Chris Benoit, and look.
Chris Benoit to challenge. Thank you very much.
Absolute dogshit wrestling ability and maybe worse promo skills. The WCW United States Champion, David Flair. Supply and Demand take on Droz and Prince Albert on Raw. On Nitro, we see a pre-recorded Shane Douglas promo. The Raw match is a tag team street fight. Venus is in his street clothes and Droz and Albert also come out wearing their street clothes. I mean, they have to be acceptable on some sort of street, right? Godfather be pimping hoes nationwide, so he needs to look as fly as humanly possible at all times. This one ended abruptly as Godfather and Droz fought in the audience. Someone attacked the Godfather, and this right here is Vic Grimes, who would make a name for himself when New Jack threw him off a scaffold and threw like 10 million tables. I know he's done way more than this throughout his career, but still, most know him for his shenanigans with New Jack. In the WWF, Grimes was known as Key. He'll be portraying Droz and Albert Steeler, not even joking. But his interference here didn't really matter, seeing as Venus and Godfather still won this tag team match. On Nitro, Macho Man has finally found Gorgeous George. He also finds Dennis Rodman hanging out in his trailer, but Doug Dillinger's band of merry men keep the madness from attacking the worm. We'll have to wait until Road Wild to see this showdown for the ages. Shane Douglas says he's sat outside WCW long enough and he's watched his friends get treated badly, so he's came back to stand beside Malenko, Benoit and Saturn, and he's with these guys because he knows they won't stab him in the back. The franchise said last week that there's a cancer in WCW, and he confirms in this interview that that cancer goes by the name of Ric Flair. For those who don't know, Shane legitimately didn't like Flair because he felt he held him down years ago in WCW. Flair didn't have time for Shane apparently when the franchise wanted some advice in regards to how to improve as a pro wrestler, and Shane also didn't like how Flair conducted himself in public, feeling that his antics were juvenile and inappropriate for a world champion. Shane's gonna cut the cancer known as Ric Flair out of WCW. He says all the boys know the two men really dislike each other, but Shane Douglas is here and he's gonna play in Flair's backyard. Triple H cuts a promo over on Raw, and we've got Bill Goldberg's in-ring Nitro return against Kurt Hennig. The Rock had a few words to say in the back before Hunter comes to the ring. He makes Michael Cole wear his new electrifying shirt. He puts the SmackDown Hotel shirt over Michael's head again, and Michael even gets his own people's elbow pad. Rock says Hunter beat him last night, but he didn't do it alone. Hunter's a one-trick pony, and his one trick is China. As for Billy Gunn, The Rock's going to take the lips off Billy's trunks, turn them sideways and stick them up Billy's ass, and the Great One would also kick China's teeth down her throat if he ever got the chance. Rock then thinks there's something on Michael's hand because the microphone stinks, and great stuff. Stone Cold Steve Austin watches the Triple H promo in the back, and Hunter says it's not about Austin anymore, it's not about Vince anymore, it's all about Triple H. For the last 6 months, Hunter's been studying Stone Cold obsessively, and Hunter knows everything about Austin, including his weaknesses. So to hell with referee Jesse Ventura, he won't be a factor at SummerSlam. China won't be a factor either. SummerSlam will be one-on-one, man-to-man, and as much as Stone Cold's a student of the game, Triple H says that he is the game. Chyna takes the mic and she says Rock talks real tough backstage and maybe Rock should come out and talk trash to Chyna's face. So Rock comes out only to get jumped by B.A. Billy Gunn. Billy, Hunter and Chyna lay the boots in the ring and Chyna even hits The Rock in the people's nutsack. But when the three former degenerates head back up the ramp, The Rock issues a challenge. Billy and Chyna versus The Rock tonight in a 2-on-1 match. Rock wants to know if Billy's got a set of balls because he knows Chyna definitely has a set. Billy and Chyna agree to the match, so we'll see that in tonight's main event. That dumb son of a gun Goldberg busted his own head open while headbutting a locker backstage. He shoves Kurt to the mat before kicking him in the face, and Billy then pulls off a pretty unique pump handle flip slam. Hennig goes to the outside and he gets a little help from Barry and Kendall Windham. Bobby D then gives Hennig a bull rope and Goldberg gets rocked. Kurt tries to beat Goldberg while he's down, but Billy Boy no-sells. Hennig takes a power slam and Goldberg then transitions from a back suplex into a Uranagi. And the match ends when members of the West Texas Rednecks get in the ring to get wiped out by Goldberg. Every member except Kurt Hennig ends up taking a spear as the crowd goes crazy. And Kurt decides it's not worth continuing the match, so the referee calls for the bell and he gives Goldberg the win. Goldberg then taunts Kurt and Hennig ends up getting back inside the ring. He tries to lay in a few punches, but Goldberg throws him back to the outside and the crowd continues to go nuts. By the way, Scott Hudson's called Goldberg the Phenom 4 or 5 times tonight and he better stop ASAP. There's only one Phenom in this line of work, matey, and it's definitely not Bill Goldberg. Undertaker and Big Show take on Kane next in a 2-on-1 match. On Nitro, Patty Stone Grinder, better known as Leilani Kai, takes on Medusa, a WrestleMania 10 rematch. The Raw match goes just as you'd expect, really. This new team of Undertaker and Big Show destroy Kane in the early going, but when Kane fights back in the ring, he makes it clear he doesn't want the Big Show, he wants to fight the Undertaker. The brothers fight it out and Kane gets the better of Taker with a clothesline. He also falls victim to a clothesline himself that sends him out of the ring, but Kane is able to take a chair away from Big Show and both Show and Taker take chair shots. The referee was busy when all this went down, so when Taker swings a chair inside the ropes, he gets himself disqualified. Kane sits up and he ends up taking another hard shot. And superhero Road Dogg Jesse James runs down to help Kane out, but he too ends up getting wiped out. Road Dogg gets chokeslammed, the Unholy Alliance beat up Kane a little more, and I'm not sure about this new tag team if I'm honest. It's just weird for Taker to go from Prince of Darkness to corporate lackey to randomly teaming up with someone he has nothing in common with. I miss the dark and evil Undertaker already. Patty Stone Grinder is one horrible name, but Leilani Kai is a veteran of women's wrestling. As mentioned, these two have met before in the ring, and it's also good to see women's wrestling back on WCW. By the way, check out Leilani Kai's shoot interview about Vince Russo whenever you get the chance, it's pretty funny. Medusa gets choked out at the opening bell and the referee lets it slide when Kai whips Medusa. Medusa then takes a body slam followed by a few kicks in the corner, but she only stays down for one following a double underhook suplex. Kai gets taken down multiple times and Medusa pulls off a diving crossbody to the outside, and even though she takes a few back elbows back inside the ring, Medusa ends up winning the match with her signature German suplex. We wouldn't see Patty Stone Grinder in WCW again, but she was scheduled to appear later in the year. Have a listen to that shoot interview to find out why she didn't compete again. We've got promos from Jeff Jarrett and Ivory on Raw. On Nitro, Shane Douglas takes on WCW punching bag Scott Putski. Jarrett calls Ben Stiller into the ring and Ben's here to promote Mystery Man once again. He sucks up to Double J by reminding everyone that Jarrett beat Edge last night at Fully Loaded, and even though there's many superheroes in Mystery Man, none of them compare to Double J. Jarrett then asks Ben who his favourite WWF superstar is. Ben says he has two, in particular, the puppies. So Jarrett takes offence to this and Stiller gets jumped by the IC champion. I'm sure many of you were happy to see this, but kudos to Ben for getting a bit more involved. The Stiller back up the ramp like he's a little damsel in distress. Backstage, we see Triple H heading into Steve Austin's locker room. Maybe Hunter's planning a sneak attack, or he wants to steal Stone Cold's beer stash. Ivory says Nicole Bass isn't good enough to stand by the champ, and that's why she's not here tonight. Bass would actually file a harassment lawsuit against Steve Lombardi, which ultimately got dismissed in 2003. Creeps are absolutely everywhere. Ivory issues an open challenge to anyone in the audience, just like a few weeks ago, and we've got independent wrestler Helena Heavenly acting as a fan and answering the challenge. She ends up getting wrecked, and after a bulldog, Tori runs down to get a piece of Ivory. The referees run down to break the fight up, so we assume Tori versus Ivory is going to happen at SummerSlam. Hunter then comes out of Stone Cold's locker room. Jim Ross isn't sure if Austin was in there or not. Al Snow's seen backstage, and it looks like he still hasn't slept since Head got that gruesome injury. A little chihuahua then walks into frame, and not surprisingly, Al can understand what the dog's saying. Al wants the little doggo to come back, and don't worry, we'll be seeing a lot more of Al's new friend very soon. The franchise's Nitro debut match doesn't start off well as he takes a power slam and a suplex from Polish Power Scott Putski. Shane answers with a back elbow though, followed by a hard chop, but he gets put right back down with a back suplex. Shane pulls off a pretty weak neckbreaker, but look closely and you'll see Putski just didn't want to move it first for some reason, but the franchise makes up for it with a vertical suplex. Douglas then pulls off a piledriver that was almost as bad as Brian Adams' piledriver, and when Shane applies a camel clutch, Putski uses his Polish Power for an electric chair drop counter. Shane counters a body slam attempt, and the match ends with a Pittsburgh plunge from the franchise. It's a great looking finisher, but for a debut match, I think this could have been better. Both guys were a bit off here, but hopefully we'll see improvements in the weeks to come. On Raw, we've got Triple H taking on an injured Ken Shamrock. On Nitro, we've got David Flair versus Chris Benoit, plus Rick Steiner versus Chase Tatum. Jim Ross says Triple H vandalized Stone Cold's locker room and he destroyed some of Austin's property. He didn't fight Stone Cold before coming to the ring. Ken Shamrock takes his sweet time making his entrance, though he does show up after Triple H calls him a puss. Kenny Boy's got some taped up ribs thanks to our Lord and Saviour Steve Blackman, and as soon as Hunter gets the chance, he goes after the injured body part. Ken Shamrock is like constantly kayfabe injured. Anytime Ken tries to fight back, Hunter targets the injury, and this is it. We're seeing the game Triple H right now, and Hunter has Steve Blackman to thank for it. Blackman made Triple H, and don't you forget it. Hunter pulls off a gutbuster followed by an abdominal stretch. We then see gutbuster number 2, and as Triple H rams his shoulder into Shamrock's midsection, the world's most dangerous man begins to bleed from the mouth. Those internal injuries, folks, something that Ken Shamrock just can't cure. JR thinks the referee should stop the match as Triple H applies a body scissors, and that's exactly what ends up happening. Jimmy Cordes awards the match to Triple H because Shamrock can't continue, and Chyna has a big smile on her face as the ring announcer says Triple H is the winner of the match. Hunter continues his attack after the bell and the body scissors gets applied again. Absolute destruction from Triple H. Backstage, The Undertaker says X-Pac's on his way to the hospital, and as for Kane, well, Kane's a big red pussy. Not even joking, The Undertaker said that. He also says the days of scary music and scary entrances are over, the Big Show knows what evil's all about, and the days of Armageddon are upon us. You're going to notice The Undertaker acting a bit more like himself over the next few weeks, for better or for worse. It's like seeing a very, very early version of the American Badass still mixed in with the Prince of Darkness. Weird times for The Undertaker indeed. After the promo, we see Tess beating up some dude wearing a sweater vest, and that can only mean one thing.
Have you ever had sex? I haven't felt great. It felt so good when I did it with my penis. A girl let me do it. It literally just happened. Having sex can make a nice man out the meanest. Oh, hey.
Pete Gas has been ambushed because that's the only way Tess can get one up on the Mean Street Posse. Tess better watch himself because these boys are not to be messed with. I'd sleep with one eye open if I were the big man. There's one word to describe what David Flair is right now. Fucked, and not in a good way. Benoit performs an STO right at the opening bell, and it looks like David's going to cry afterwards. Benoit then takes Flair down and he blows his nose on the Nature Child, and Chris then performs a chop that makes David want to run away. Charles Robinson talks David into returning to the ring, and David gets destroyed with another chop. Things go from bad to worse when David takes more punishment in the corner, followed by a back suplex. I think Benoit's actually going a little easy on David here out of respect for Rick, but still, this is nothing but an absolute mauling as the chops continue. Flair takes a backbreaker followed by an elbow drop. Chris then applies a lion tamer. David taps out, but Charles won't call for the bell. Either Robinson saving the US title, or he's secretly enjoying this beatdown way too much. Benoit performs a snap suplex before signaling for the diving headbutt. Chris performs his finisher, but he doesn't go for the pin and instead he applies the crippler crossface. Diamond Dallas Page then shows up to attack Chris with his tag team belt, and this is how David steals another victory on Monday Nitro. You shouldn't be surprised. Dean Malenko runs down to beat up Page. Canyon, Bam Bam, and Saturn also run down for a fight. We have the Jersey Triad versus the Revolution right here, and Shane Douglas was way too late getting to the ring. He didn't even have his boots on. So what are we thinking right now? To me, the Jersey Triad versus Revolution feud sure sounds like a step in the right direction, especially considering everything else going on in WCW right now. No Limit Soldier Chase Tatum, an absolute casualty of a failed wrestling project, took on Rick Steiner next, and the DFG completely dominated his opponent. This means that Nash's partner for the main event is likely Sid Vicious, though I'd soil my underwear if Scott Hall showed up. This wasn't even a match, it was just a beating. This guy in the audience seemed to like it so much though that he started beating off, so I'm glad someone enjoyed it. Rick squashes Tatum with a German suplex followed by the Steiner Bulldog, and young Chase would have one more match in WCW before heading home. He'd have one more recorded match following his departure. He wrestled a rookie named The Prototype in December 2000, and The Prototype, of course, is John Cena. Raw ends with The Rock taking on Billy Gunn in China in a 2-on-1 match. Nitro's main event features Hogan and Sting versus Nash and a mystery partner. The crowd boos on Nitro when the mystery partner is revealed to be Sid Vicious. I think loads of people were expecting Hall, and I too am a bit disappointed here. Not because I don't like Sid or anything, but because Nash being friendly at all with Sid makes absolutely no sense. Just because you turn heel doesn't mean you instantly become friendly with other bad guys. Hulk brings a ton of right hands to Big Sid's face, but Sid answers with an inverted atomic drop. A few wristlock counters leads to Hulk hitting more right hands, and Sid gets punched by both Hogan and Sting before Hulk tries and fails to body slam the big man. The crowd are now chanting "We want Hall" as Hogan gets body slammed, but Sid misses a follow-up elbow drop. The Hulkster then cheap shots Kevin Nash, and all four men get in the ring for a brawl. The crowd pops as Sting sends Nash over the top rope, and Sid and Kev take a moment afterwards to regroup. Our match resumes with Kevin Nash and Sting. Kev goes through his usual corner offense routine, but Sting dodges the back elbow. Nash is able to grab Sting and the Icon takes Snake Eyes, and things slow down once again when Sid comes in with a few clubbing blows. As usual, the heels keep the babyface away from his corner, and the referee acts oblivious to the clear underhanded tactics going on in the ring. We see some fantastic chin abuse from Big Sid Vicious, and check it out, Sting body slams Sid. Even the immortal Hulk Hogan couldn't do that a few minutes ago. Sting misses a splash and Nash comes back in. The Stinger then builds up a comeback and he tries to tag in Hogan, but Hogan's not in position, and this raises suspicion right away. Maybe Hulk is going to do Sting dirty. They don't play up to this at all, unfortunately, but before Sting tags in Hulk, he pulls off whatever this was. I don't think Nash was ready for that, and neither was Sting, to be fair. Hogan comes in, brother. The Hulkster cleans house. It was all going so well, but when Sting goes for a Stinger splash, Sid pulls the referee in. Rick Steiner then shows up and he hits Sting on the back with a steel chair, and Rick passes the chair into the ring after stopping the big leg drop. Hogan blades right before taking a chair shot, and Kevin Nash pins Hulk Hogan for the victory. Goldberg runs down, but Rick destroys Billy Boy with multiple chair shots, and Nitro ends with Nash, Sid, and Rick heading back up the ramp. Honestly, this wasn't a terrible main event. We have definitely seen way worse. On Raw, Triple H is on commentary for our main event, another 2-on-1 match in the War Zone this week. Rock goes on offense immediately following his entrance, and both Billy and Chyna take punches from the Great One. On the outside, Chyna accidentally hits her partner with a clothesline and she gets rewarded with another punch to the head. And as Billy goes to work on Rocky in the ring, Triple H starts giving JR a hard time on commentary. Raw said he wasn't sure if Hunter could beat Steve Austin, and Triple H takes it personally. Chyna attacks from the apron, which gives Billy a chance to pull off a piledriver. The Ninth Wonder of the World attacks Rock in the corner, while Hunter says the WWF's all about Triple H from this point on. Rock takes a DDT from Chyna, but he kicks out of the follow-up cover, and we then see Stone Cold watching the match backstage. He's listening to every word Triple H says. Hunter says he's got Stone Cold's number, he knows everything about Austin, including when he eats and sleeps. Bit creepy. Back in the ring, Chyna almost takes a rock bottom, but Billy runs in for the save. Triple H continues to rip into JR at the commentary desk. Rock hits Billy with a DDT, followed by a Samoan drop, and B.A. Billy Gunn takes a punch to the dick before the match goes to the outside. Hunter cheap shots Rock, and JR can't understand why Hunter's getting involved. The game says he does what he wants when he wants. Back in the ring, Chyna takes a page out of Hunter's playbook with a knee drop, but she misses the second time around. She's still able to tag in Billy, but this is the end of our match right here. Things are getting way too heated between Triple H and JR, and the game ends up punching Ross on the jaw. The glass then shatters, and Stone Cold runs down the ringside, making sure to give Chyna a little shove as he goes after Hunter, and the crowd explodes when Stone Cold fights with Triple H. It's so refreshing seeing Stone Cold fighting someone new for a change, and I think the crowd appreciated it too. Hunter's been built up as a real villain after Fully Loaded and Raw tonight, and I'm actually excited for this main event rivalry. Back in the ring, Rock performs a rock bottom on Billy Gunn, but Raw fades out before we see the people's elbow. There's no clear winner here in our main event, but it was still an entertaining end to Raw this week. Raw wins this week's episode of Reliving the War, and the choice was easy. The show was built well around Triple H, and WCW could learn a thing or two about elevating superstars by watching the last few shows the WWF presented on both pay-per-view and TV. McMahon's departure was also entertaining. I'm a bit dubious about this Big Show and Undertaker tag team, but all in all, a good episode of Raw that went up against a run-of-the-mill 1999 episode of Nitro. Raw's now got 101 points, Nitro's got 73 points, and we've got 20 ties. In the TV ratings, Raw dominated with a 7.1, Nitro got a 3.4. On Raw next week, Gangrel faces Edge in the first ever WWF Bloodbath match. The Unholy Alliance take on Road Dogg and X-Pac, and Steve Austin goes over Triple H's head by granting someone else a WWF title shot. On Nitro, Dennis Rodman and Macho Man meet inside the ring. We finally see the return of Harlem Heat. Vampiro has a one-on-one match against Eddie Guerrero, and it's Sting's turn to find a tag team partner for the Nitro main event. Thank you very much for watching as always, everyone. It's been a long journey so far, but I've still got a lot to cover. So thanks again for sticking with Reliving the War, and hopefully I'll see you all next week. Take care.